FIFA 2014, when it released, would find its way to a multitude of different platforms, mainly with the next gen systems with the PS3, Xbox 360, Nintendo Wii, even handheld systems with the 3DS, PlayStation Portable, even the PS Vita, and even on the PC and mobile devices. But it was also the final outing for the PlayStation 2, which is just mad to think that games of this quality were still being released on a console that was 10 plus years old. But that will tell you the power of the PlayStation 2, because it is the world's best selling console and probably the most iconic ever. And the fact that games like this were still being released is a testament to how good it really was. Now, it's not to say there's much in terms of overall difference with regards to gameplay and features. Yes, there are some subtle updates and tweaks compared to previous editions with updated stats, transfers, gameplay features, but the overall sense and style of control systems and just how the game plays, there's not really much difference between it and previous editions, even going back to 2007. But still, it was a good entry point for players that couldn't afford other platforms and then wanted to play FIFA games, even just to get to play as their favourite teams and favourite players, which were current at that time. It probably would have been the go-to option. Now, even though the PS2 edition wouldn't have sold as much compared to other outings, but it still did alright. Like, FIFA games just sold, and they still do even today, even though it's not under the FIFA name as much anymore, but they still just bloody sell. It's built up enough of a rapport and standard now that there is no competition with regards to football games. Even PES isn't around anymore. Like, now it's called eFootball and it's an online only thing, but to be honest, there is no competition really when it comes to football games these days. I think around this time, around the 2010s up until around 2016, 2017, 2018, that was the last real kind of time when you had any sort of competition with regards to football games. Everything after that, it was just FIFA pretty much, and now what's called FC. But it's just more the same. If you wanted to play the definitive versions of the game, you'd have to play them on the more powerful platforms, because they'd have access to all patches and updates and features and so forth. You wouldn't really got that as much with the PlayStation 2 as such. Now, there would have been some online features, but it wouldn't have been all that great, because the PS2's online capabilities weren't that great to begin with. If anything, that was one of its weaknesses, but the technology was just there with the other platforms. But at this point, the PlayStation 4 and even the Xbox One had technically been released at this stage, and you'd be thinking to yourself, like, why would you still keep releasing games for a platform that is old? But obviously, it was still producing games. A lot of these companies were loyal to the platform because it had given them so much over the years, and I suppose it was just a really good idea and a final hurrah, you could say, for the series, and even just a swan song for the console itself, because it did stop production around that time too. And it just kind of demonstrates the legacy of the PlayStation 2, in all fairness. It really does, that high quality games like this from well-known franchises were still being developed for the platform right up until pretty much the console stopped being produced. So it does say a lot, it really does.
Oh, look at the space he's got here. He's got to have sneak against the woodwork. Deals with the trouble. He only has the keeper to beat. Could be. It's there. Oh, what about that?
Now all those days on the training ground, defending. This is where you put it into practice.
And is that the goal that points the way to who is going to win this match?
While the game may not be anything new as such, there are better versions of it out there, but it's still a solid game all around, and probably an easier entry point compared to some of the other versions. It is what it is, no airs and graces about it. It's just a good solid footballer, challenging, not as in depth maybe as other versions, but there's still enough here for fans, especially of the PS2 generation, because when we think of it, there would have been a lot of players that probably would have preferred the PS2 edition because they were just familiar with that format. And sure, if you have a formula that works, why would you try to change it? In fairness, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. That's the saying. So I suppose that was what happened here, especially with the PS2 edition, because literally from 2007 onwards, pretty much every game for me personally did feel like it was exactly the same. Now, of course, it was running on the same game engine, so there wouldn't have been very little changes that could have been made anyway in terms of overall updates, but I think there was enough tweaks there to at least make it look like somewhat a new game on the surface in some ways. But it is what it is. It was a good final kind of like send off for the PlayStation 2. The fact is that it was a top tier game, a top tier series that sold in the bucket loads over its time frame and still managed to do well in the PS2. It does say a lot, it really does. But would it be your favourite FIFA game that released on the console? Because believe me, as we all know, there's a ton of them. So be sure to share it down in the comments below. And if you would like to see more content of all of the other FIFA games that had released on the console up to that point, you can check out this next video.